My recruitment has been shut down since commitment. Sincerely, Shahn Alston, class of 2026 running back, state of Ohio. Oh, and USC's class of 2025, it picked up another 5-star.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I am your host, Mark Holkin, and thanks for making Locked On USC. It's part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day, whether you are watching the show on YouTube, wherever you want to download this podcast, it's always free. And I want you to always remember how much I always appreciate your support. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So there's a trend going on with USC's 2026 recruiting class. I mentioned USC got another 5-star for their 2025 class. Get to that just a moment here, but it all ties together. So one of the trends that's going on right now, guys are committing to USC's 2026 class before they even take their official visit. And, you know, that trend itself isn't new, but I mean, stuff like that's been going on forever. Guys will commit and say, you know what? Don't need to do anything else. You know, I'm committed before my official visit. They still took their trips, though. Stuff like that been happening forever. So, you know, the new trend right now is guys who are committed, they're shutting the process down completely. In other words, they've committed to USC, they're not going anywhere else. And that includes taking official visits to other programs that they at first were at least interested in. So last week, the big Texas defensive tackle, 6'4", 300-pounder Jaimeon Winfield. Yeah, well, he jumped on social media and he let it be known that he's got one official visit left. And he's taken to USC. Everyone else, he basically said, look, I'm shutting it down. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your energy. Don't waste your money on me. I'm going to USC. It's a huge, if you're ever looking for a vote of confidence when it comes to recruiting, especially from an out-of-state player, one of the best from the state of Texas at a position where, you know, elite talent doesn't grow on trees, that's huge. That's a huge vote of confidence. Jaimeon understands it. He already gets it. USC is the place that he wants to be. There's no reason to check out the other programs. You know, whatever they're selling, he doesn't need to see it. He's heard it. He's probably seen it on unofficial visits. He doesn't need all the pomp and circumstance. So that means programs like Texas and Notre Dame, Ole Miss, SMU, they're done. They're out. They're not getting his visit. And he's not the only one, Jaimeon. In fact, he's not even the first one. And he's certainly not going to be the last one. What's so funny, what started this whole interesting dynamic over the weekend was one of this show's everyday viewers, Zulu Trojan. He put out a post on X. He said, look, if you're a USC commit, go ahead, shut down your recruitment. That way you can get more acclimated to the process faster, learn the playbook, absorb the USC culture, and eventually you'll get on the field quicker, end quote. That's what made Shahn Alston make that statement. My recruitment has been shut down since commitment. If you are an everyday viewer of the show, you watched me interview Shahn Alston on this episode on an episode of Locked On USC. Go check it out. Young man is going places. Very mature young man. Knows what he wants. So again, it wasn't just Jaimeon. It wasn't just Shahn Alston. Brandon Lockhart, local prospect from California, Loyola High School, also on the show, said the same thing. Esun Tafa, the offensive lineman from the state of Utah, same thing. They've echoed the same feelings. They've shut it down. Now, does that mean that anybody, including the aforementioned names, can't still decommit at a later date? Of course not. But right now, the 2026 class, the number 2 ranked class in the country, you'll understand why here in just a moment. The 2026 class, they're all bought in. They're ready to become Trojans. They truly get what it means, and they understand the meaning of the word committed. So as each day passes since Xavier Griffin's decommitment, USC's class, their roster just keeps getting stronger. So even though you had a couple of decommitments, Xavier Griffin, Cohen Brown, the wide receiver from Texas, they actually had 3 decommitments. But this one is a win-win for everyone. R.J. Sermons, the only other decommitment, class of 2026. He was the second highest rated player in this class after Xavier. Well, we know Xavier is back on the open market. R.J. Sermon's decommitted, but he's not on the open market. He is the reclassification that I've been teasing for the last couple months. So if you don't know about it, now you do. Cornerback, Southern California, legacy. He will be enrolling at USC in June. So USC's 2026 class right now, technically they don't have any 5 stars. But the class of 2025 got one more. Again, he's enrolling. He's going to start that acclimation process in June, go through the summer workouts, the player run practices. Immediately, he brings elite speed. And he's got some pretty good cornerback skills as well. But even with that speed and the great skills that he already has, he's going to have a little bit of catching up to do. You have guys who are already in spring camp, so obviously, they're going to be ahead of the game. Why did R.J. Sermons reclassify? One, because he can get better development at USC than in high school. Look, he'd play in high school, he'd get a lot more reps, and you can never discount having as many reps as possible. But if the goal is to, reach your potential, you might as well, I guess, start your time clock sooner if you can do it in college. So again, he brings that speed, he brings the skill set, and USC's trying to replace Jalen Smith and Jacoby Covington and John Humphrey. Those guys got the bulk of the snaps last year. Well, they're gone. They're in the NFL. We're, trying to make the NFL. USC didn't stand pat. They did add some veteran guy. They added DJ Harvey out of the transfer portal, local prospect. And then they also returned to Carlos Nicholson. The other veteran defensive back that they returned who plays cornerback, Prophet Brown. And then you have second-year players, Marcellus Williams and Braylon Conley. In the spring, Alex Graham, the true freshman from the state of Michigan, he was an early enrollee, and he also has the size and the talent to compete at this level, much like R.J. Sermons. But like R.J. wasn't available for spring camp at all, Alex was limited during spring camp. He had a couple of bumps and bruises. Nothing serious, but again, it kind of held him back a little bit. Look, I don't know how much he would contribute in 2026, but just the fact that he was in spring camp helps him a lot. It's really crazy when you think about it. But even with RJ, kind of moving up his time clock, the 2026 recruiting class, even without him, still loaded in the secondary. Defensive back guys, you've still got the best defensive back from the state of Ohio, Elbert Hill. You still have, I mentioned Brandon Lockhart, another 4-star. You've got Joshua Holland from St. John Bosco. You've got Madden Reardon, who is really underrated. He's also coming in. He's from Sierra Canyon. So even without RJ being part of the 2026 class, he's going to be just fine. And now there's room for more. How bad is it? I mean, it's a win-win all the way across the board. Because you still got guys out there like Brandon Arrington, Davon Benjamin. Those are probably the two big names out there. But remember these two names. Peyton Dyer, he's a 4-star cornerback from the state of Georgia. I know. Stay away from Georgia. But hey, sometimes you get, every now and then there's a special guy who's willing to leave the state. Cameron Fountain was one of those types. Here's another name. Remember the name Vincent Smith. He's an under-the-radar guy. He's from the state of Ohio, but Trevon Reed really likes him a lot. So, if you got all these different, elite players, you can afford to take a flyer, so to speak, on somebody who might not be as highly rated. And this staff does a lot of evaluating. They're not just throwing offers at anybody. So there you go. Pretty productive weekend. Hope you're enjoying your Memorial Day weekend. And now we're just a week or so away from the official visit starting. So let's go. Guys are shutting it down. Let's have a good time. And by the time the official visits are over, who knows? Maybe everybody will shut it down. It'll be done. We've got 2 more segments to go. We're going to talk some anonymous stuff from Big Ten coaches, as well as in the third segment. Did you know just 96 days left before USC kicks off their season? Yeah, we're in the home stretch. We're there. You check your bank account. What's the end of the month? You're going, man, I need some more money. I got bills to pay, places to go, people to see. Well, between dining out, shopping, doing all those those things I just said above, it's easy to lose track of your money. It really is. But that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's like having your own personal CFO. It's going to give you full visibility, total control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, all of your investments, and all of your spending in one place. So you can stop just managing money, start building up some wealth. And you're going to love the all-in-one convenience. Instead of juggling multiple different apps to do all those different things, you can do that all with Monarch Money. You can track your finances, track your spending, plan some long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Athlon, the online magazine, they started their anonymous coaches tour. The tour where, coaches anonymously offer their opinions on their coaching peers. Yeah, that thing happens every year. Let me save everybody their anticipation. You're going to want to hear what this particular coach had to say, but they're only repeating what I've been saying here for a while now. Maybe they've been listening to the show. If they're smart, they haven't. USC's defense. Yeah, USC's defense. It's going to be called upon to kind of shoulder the load until USC's offense is back on track. Specifically, quarterback. So there's a couple of excerpts along the Big Ten's, call it their anonymous tour stop. Again, coaches, they speak off the cuff. They leave their names out of it. And it just gives you a different perspective of how other programs within the conference see USC. But again, both of the comments were centralized, focused on the defense. Here's the first thing that was said. The talk is all about Lincoln Riley making another elite quarterback, but I think the metric here should be how much that defense can improve both on the field and in recruiting. I think they take a jump up this year because they're bringing in more talented players to a proven system. Both the transfers and the freshman, Jakeem Stewart, will make the defensive line better. That's what gets lost about the USC teams that won big. They were killers in the front seven. That's been missing, end quote. And then the other comment said this. If you assume Jaden Maiava continues to build a comfort level, they'll be better for it on offense. But watch the defense. If they take that next step, they're all of a sudden we're talking about a team that can go in and play with the best programs in the nation again. End quote. Whoever said both of those statements, they're smart men. Right? All off season, I have been pumping up USC's defensive line. I've been pumping up the defensive line room's depth. I talked about the addition of Keyshawn Silver and Jaw Jarrett. 700 pounds in the middle of the defensive line. 700 pounds with experience. I think everyone will agree Thanos is going to be a dude, probably sooner rather than later. So you got those guys. Those are the three people that first coach anonymously was talking about. The transfers, Jakeem Stewart. But let me just remind everybody, you're adding those three guys to a defensive line room that already was returning. Anthony Lucas, Cameron Fountain, Braylon Shelby, Kobe Pepe, Jade Abasiri, Devin Tompkins, who the staff has been talking about the most this during the spring and heading into the offseason. And then you also have the young guys. Carlon Jones missed last year with a red shirt. Floyd Boucard with his elite feet. Coach Henney said that dude's playing on Sundays. And then you also have Cash Jacobson. And then they're showing up in June. Gus Cordova, Jaden Ramos. 2 more defensive linemen from the state of Texas. So, besides me, begging for a more run-first mentality, I've been talking about it last year towards the tail end of the season, especially during this offseason. So besides begging for a more run-first mentality from Coach Riley, all the eyes are going to be on Jade Mayaba, right? Making sure he's, making better decisions. Because if he makes better decisions, he's got unlimited talent. So if you can take all the pressure off of Jaden because you're relying on your defense, this team's going to have a much better chance of winning those close games in 2025 compared to what happened last year. And here's what I love the most. Coach Riley has really backed up his statements. Remember when he hired Danton Lynn? And I'm paraphrasing, but he said, everything going forward, we're going to place the defense first when it comes to making USC a championship team. So everything had to do with building USC up, defense first. And he's backed that statement up. I mean, this staff right now, second to no one. We know recruiting has been off the charts. The roster is definitely better on that side of the, on that side of the line of scrimmage. So great staff, second to no one. It got even better when you added Rob Ryan, who replaced Matt Entz. You brought in Trovon Reed. So again, recruiting, talent evaluation, along with development. And now you've got, everybody's in the system for the second year. They're going to have a better understanding of what it takes to compete in the Big Ten Conference. At least the coaching staff will. You got a lot of, you got some new players, but for the most part, if you've been, the experienced guys, they've played enough football that they know what it takes. Be physical. Hold your ground. Win the one-on-one battles. So there you go. This is what everybody wants to see from USC. This is what everybody fears. I don't think anybody anticipates Lincoln Riley having 2 seasons in a row where his offense kind of stumbles and bubbles itself across the finish line. If they get that fixed, there's enough on USC's defensive side of the ball with Danton Lynn in the second year of his system that they can improve on giving up 24 points per game to less than 20. And if that's paired up with a Lincoln Riley offense that's scoring 35 plus points per game, again, find me the losses on USC's schedule. And that includes road trips to Lincoln, Nebraska, South Bend, Indiana, Champaign, Illinois, Eugene, Oregon. All right, one more segment to go. If you are watching this episode of Locked on USC on Memorial Day Monday to start your week, do me a favor. Make sure you take a moment, say thank you. Try and remember, all those folks that came before us. Those are the guys, those are the people who make this possible. So just remember what Memorial Day is all about. And you should also probably know, since it is Monday, Memorial Day, there's just 96 days left until USC kicks off its season against Missouri State. Beat the Bears. I'm not sure if there's 96 questions left to answer before we all get together on Labor Day weekend, but there's still questions out there. First and foremost, and I kind of touched on it at the tail end of the second segment here, is the offense in good hands with the quarterback position. Jaimeon Winfield, he's entering his second season with Lincoln Riley in his system. Last year, Jaden arrived. He kind of walked in. He kind of entered into an untenable situation. Miller Moss was the de facto QB1. He had that great Holiday Bowl game. He followed it up with a great, come from behind victory against LSU in Las Vegas. And then things kind of, started to a little bit of a roller coaster until everything was just, wow, what happened to the quarterback position? So eventually, Jaimeon Winfield took over down the stretch. Final 4 games of the regular season and the bowl game. USC went 3-1. And now, so he had all those first team reps during that part of the season, the last, 4 games. And he's had all the number 1 reps during spring camp. And that's going to be huge for his development. Massive. It's his team right now. He doesn't have Miller Moss saying, dude, just stay over there. Winfield's biggest question mark, it's not his talent. That's undeniable. Big arm, big, strong body, can run, can move. It's his decision making. In fact, Coach Riley discussed Jaden's development on ESPN's Always College Football podcast with Craig McElroy. He said this, quote, "We were excited about how he played. I think given his inexperience in our system and kind of coming into that type of situation, it's not always the easiest. But I thought he handled it really well. We went 3-1 in the games that he played, and he gave us a great chance to beat Notre Dame. His good is so good. Some of the throws this guy makes, yeah. But the goal for us is, can you take the good, try to enhance that, but then can you take some of the negative plays, remove those from his game," end quote. Those negative plays that Coach Riley was inferring, those pick sixes. Those 2 back-to-back pick sixes against Notre Dame. You might remember, throwing the ball backwards somehow. I'm still trying to figure that one out. But yeah, it's those are the things that Coach Riley is trying to work on with Jaden. Coach was he also, he intimated that Winfield wasn't 100% last year physically, which may take into account for the lack of running. Those called quarterback keepers, the read option plays. So Lincoln Riley continued, because he's really grown, continuing to get better physically. He came with a little bit of a knee issue last year. That's all cleared up. So he's really been able to train. He's gonna move around better for us this year. But if we can trim a few of those decisions off of him, which I certainly believe we can, this guy's got a chance to be elite. He just does some things that are hard to teach, hard to coach, and some things that are very, very, very tough to defend. End quote. I think going forward during this off season is I'm going to do my own Monday's mailbag. All right. Like I said, there's not 96 questions. There probably are. I don't want to come up with that many. But I want you, the listener, the viewer, come up with the questions for me. Every Monday, I'll dive into the mailbag. I'll answer them. I can't promise that I'll be able to answer all of them. Of course not. There'll be too many. But if if you're able to put together a coherent question, and if I like it, I'll read it on the air. So every third segment, every Monday, we're going to do that. So let's make that happen. What do you say? Let's do it. All right. That's it for this episode of Locked On USC. We're in it. We're heading into the final stretch. We're less than 100 days from USC kicking off against Missouri State. Are you excited? I am. We're getting into official visit season. Recruits are shutting it down. Boom. And we're into the summer. What more can you ask for? Again, I'll be here tomorrow, another episode. So until then, everyone, you know what to do.